Welcome to the part 2 of our shell navigation and basic commands tutorial. If you follow through the part 1, then this part 2 will be much more simpler and easier to understand. Remember, in part 1 we said that shell is a powerful tool that we can use to do so many things. And what we did in the part 1 is to help us get started with the shell. The next time you hear about the shell, or you're given a terminal window or a Linux operating system, you know how to navigate your way around. We'll still be looking at many of the navigation commands in shell, and hopefully this video can go a long way in helping us understand what commands we can use to perform certain tasks. So welcome once again. Yeah, I'm on my terminal window, and last time we discussed about a lot of commands. We discussed about the cd, the make directory, the remove directory, the touch command that creates a file, the echo that reads a file, and all of that. Yes, in this tutorial, we're going to be looking at some of these commands again, and then some other ones. So this tutorial is all about the shell basic commands. After you must have gotten started, you've navigated your way through the shell. These are also basic commands that everyone using the shell should know. Once again, the best way to know what command does is to actually use the man command here. Man, and then any name of the command. So if you want to know what ls does, just do man ls, press enter, and you're going to see it here. User command ls means list directory and all of that. So you want to actually use this man command a lot. So let's look at some of the basic commands in shell. Now, these commands that we are looking at are all inbuilt. That is, they come default with the shell. The shell understands when we write cd, the shell actually understands what we are trying to say. So these commands comes basically shell. And last time we discussed about the ls command. Now, let's look at another command. You know, the ls command prints out the list of our directory. Now, I'm in this directory, and you can see the directory here. So you can see the directory here. Just gives me this $sign, and I want to print out the absolute path of this directory. Or in other words, I want to know the road to where I am right now. I don't understand where this is. I want to know the road I'm coming from. So you could say absolute path is the road, the process. How did we land here? What are the paths that took us here? So how do I know the absolute path of this directory I'm in now? How do I know the absolute path of where I am? The command to do that is pretty much simple. The command is pwd. So you want to store that pwd. Press enter, and you can see the absolute path has been printed. Okay, so we're in a directory called bwave, and bwave is located home. So if we go back now, we are going to locate bwave, and then we are going to locate home. So you see I've cd backward once, and this is home. And now if I cd backward again, now wait, let me print the absolute paths now and see the difference. You can see home. So the first part where we got to bwave from at this point was home. And now that we've cd'd away from bwave and we are in home, you can see the absolute path to this home is just the home directory. So if I cd backward now, you're going to see that we are away from the home directory, and if I print the absolute path, nothing is going to show there. Now, if I list what I have here, you'll see we have a lot of folders here. We have bin, dev, home, lib, roots, and so on. And so you can see our home folder here. So this is where we've been creating our files. If you've been following from the previous tutorial, this is where we've been creating everything from. So basically, the PWD helps us print the absolute path. And so next time you want to check the absolute path of your working directory, you use the PWD. I'm trying to go back, and that is going to work actually. All right. So I've gone back to my home directory using the cd command, and now I can play. And so now that I am in my bwave directory in home, you can see the absolute path bwave located in home. I want to be able to print out or list out all the files. Of course, we talked about it last time, and to list out all the files, we just use the ls command. And once again, this is a directory, and these two are files. So once you want to list the content of your current directory, you use ls. If you want to print out the absolute path of your working directory, use the pwd command. In case you need more info, you can do man pwd, and you can see the name, print name of current or working directory, print the full file name of the current working directory. Now you can also see a lot of commands you could also use with it. You could use the -L, you could use the -P, and you can see all what this does. So now there's something I did. I just did the cd command. What does this cd command, without adding any of the full stops, what does this thing do? This cd command in itself, like, what's the work? Well, the job of this cd command is to change the directory to the user's home directory. For example, let's print the absolute working directory. So this is home and bwave. So I want to cd back now. And I've cd'd backward to home. So if I print the working directory, you will see I've cd'd backward to home. And I want to cd backward again. And you can see I've left home now. I'm currently I've reached a dead end where I have to cd into any of these folders or create a new folder to proceed from here. So you can see this place where I am now is not my home directory, not the user's home directory. So I want to get back to this directory, home bwave, my home directory where by default I'm working with. I've cd'd my way out of it all the way back down here. So I want to get back to this directory, home bwave. How do I do that? You know, you could decide to use cd home, then after that you now cd bwave, and this will take us back to our home directory. But this could be a long process. There's a shorter way to do that. So I'm going to go all the way back now to the dead end. So how do we get back here without having to cd into home and change directory to bwave again? We do that by just hitting the cd command. No other parameters will be passed or attached to this command. Just cd and press enter. What will happen is that you will be taken immediately back to the user's home directory. So if you want to cd into the user's home directory, just use the cd command, no parameters passed. If I list what I have here now, You can see I'm back in my home directory where I have the Bright folder, I have the tutorial 1 file and the tutorial 2 file. I'm going to clear my screen now, and I'm sure this makes a lot of sense to you. Now, there are other things we can do. Since we can use the ls to list commands, to list all the content of our current working directory and all of that. But there are other things we can do with the ls command. And one of such thing is to list out the directory contents in a long format. So this is to list out directory contents. I want to list it out in a long format. How do I do that? Well, this is it. This is the command to do that. ls space -l. What will happen if I press enter? Well, let's try it and see. Okay, so you can see the long formats now, including the date it was created, the time it was created. You can see all the values here. Later when we talk about advanced part of shell, we'll look at what these signs and symbols mean. But basically, you can see here that it has listed what we have in our directory. It's long format. So if I just do the ls, it shows me what I have here, the folders and the file. Or using the long format gives me a lot more information about these directories. Now, how about I want to list out files, but some of them are hidden. So for example, let's say this. I'm going to list out file now. I have a folder called Bright. So I'm going to create a directory called hidden. mkdir to make directory, and I call that hidden. So if I ls, I can see hidden here. Now to cd into hidden. And a quick way to be able to change directory or to type is actually to use your tab key. So for example, I want to cd into hidden. Rather than writing hidden, like typing it, its long format, I could simply press H and then press the tab key. If I have any file with the name H, it's going to automatically auto-suggest that file for me. And so since the only file with H here is hidden, it would suggest hidden for me. So you could always use your tab key. If I create another folder called hide, and then I try to press H now, you'll see what will happen. So it actually stops at HID because from there on we have 2 files, so it doesn't know which one I'm talking about. Now if I press tab again, it's actually going to show me the 2 files that have HID in common. So from here, I'll just choose which one I want hidden. Now in this hidden folder, I'm going to create a file. I'm going to call it gitignore. Later when we talk about the .gitignore would. Later when we're talking about git, we'll talk about what this git file means. But for now, let me just create the file .gitignore. Alright, so I've created a file called gitignore in the folder hidden. Let me list out what I have in my folder hidden, and you can see nothing appeared here. Let me list it out again. It's supposed to show me the file I've created called gitignore. For example, let me create another file called file1 and then list it out. You can see file1 here, but I created a file called gitignore. So let me create another file called gitignore and name it gitignore2 and then list it out. You can see I have no gitignore. My gitignore file was not there. My gitignore2 file was not there. At this point, how do I display the contents in this directory, including these files that are refused to come. So these files are actually hidden, the .gitignore. So how do I display the content of this file? Well, to do that, I'm going to use the list -l -al. Let's see what this comes up with. All right, so you can see the list ls command -al has actually helped us to do something. We can see our two gitignore files and every other hidden file. So by default, gitignore files, the files with dots as the extension, as the name of the file, would be hidden. So if we want to access hidden files, we have to use the ls-al command. If we use only ls, we will not see our hidden files. So we must use the ls-al command to see any hidden file. Now, there are some other things we can do with the ls command too. And one of them is this. ls-lna. So what does this command do? This command also helps us list all the hidden files. But if you can see, we have something here, this 1000 numerical values here that we do not see here. So when we use the ls-al command, we do not see these numerical values, but here we can see them in the ls-lna command. So basically what this command does, it's able to print out the user and group identity numerically. The user and group ID numerically. Doesn't print it out in normal form, it prints it out numerically. So if you ever ask to print out your user and group ID numerically, this is the way to go. ls-ln. There are a couple of things we can do, but before that, let me clear my screen. So clear. And anytime you type a wrong command and press enter, you can see it will throw an error. So if it throws an error, you just know maybe a typographical error from you, or you probably don't even understand what you're doing. So you just go ahead and figure it out. Now, there are a lot of things we can do with the shell. But basically, we're just looking at the basic things for now. So let's keep looking at them. I'm going to cd backward now to my home folder. And let's try to create directories now. We've done that before. mkdir arrow. Now I have a directory called hide. You can see it here. I have a directory called hide. And if we cd into that directory now called hide and list out what we have, you can see we have nothing there. Even if I use the long formats, we have nothing. And even if I use the long formats that print everything, we still have nothing inside our file. But what we want to do now is to create a directory called directory 1 inside our hide directory. So I'm going to do all of that from my home folder. That is, I'm going to create a directory called directory1 inside of the hide folder. So inside this folder, I'm going to be creating another folder called directory. How do I do that? The way most people will do it is to create cd into hide and then create that directory. But here is a quicker way to do it. So the name of the directory I want to create is directory1, and I'm creating that directory inside the hide folder. So inside the hide folder, I want to create directory1. So what did I just do here? Hide / inside the hide folder, another directory, directory1. Let's press enter and see what we got. No errors whatsoever. Now let's cd into our hide folder now and see if we did anything reasonable. Now let's list what we have here. You can see we have another directory called directory. So rather than cd into hide first before we create the directory, we could simply use the make directory command, the name of the folder first, and then the name of the new folder we want to create. So basically, that is how to create a directory inside of another directory. Are there other things we need to know for basics of shell? Yes, there are. So let's look at them. So basically, we've talked about how to move a file before and how to remove a file. To move, remember the mv command. To remove, the rom command. So now let's talk about how to delete a directory. A directory inside of another directory. You know, we've just created a directory inside of another one. And the next thing I want to do now is to delete a directory inside of another one. So, for example, let me list what I have here. In this hide folder, I want to delete this directory 1. All right, so let's do that. We'll use the rom command to remove, and then in our hide folder, want to remove directory 1. And we have a problem. We cannot use the rom command for a directory. So we are going to use the remove directory to remove that now. I'll press enter. You can see we have no errors whatsoever. So we still have our hide folder here. You can see it. But now let's cd into our hide folder. And when you list, we do not have directory 1 again. It's been deleted. So let's create another directory in the hide folder. Then we'll create a file in that directory, and then we are going to delete the file so that we just clearly understand this concept. So we are going to create a folder. Let's create directory 1 again in the hide folder. It's being created now, and want to create a file in the hide folder in the directory 1, and the name of the file should be soon to delete. All right, so what have we just done here? We've created a file touch in the hide folder in directory 1 folder, and the name of the file is soon to. Now I want to delete this file, soon to delete, without having to cd into my hide folder and cd into directory 1 folder. So I'm going to use the rm command. The name of the folder is hide directory 1, and then soon to delete. Using this command will help me delete this file called soon to delete. So if I press enter and then I list, I still have my hide folder, so I can cd into hide and then cd into directory 1. But inside directory 1, we do not have our soon to delete file because we deleted it already. So right from terminal here, right from our home, we have been able to delete a file that is in a directory of another directory. So once again, the things we can do with shell is very powerful. You want to go on to explore a lot of these so that you get used to them. But basically, these are the basics of shell. So you can call it shell. Now, want to cd back into hide and then directory 1. Now, I want to go back to the previous working directory. Here's how I can do it. So I want to go back to the previous working directory, and I'm in directory 1 in the hide directory, and the hide directory is in my home directory. So, but I want to go back to my previous working directory. So this is the command cd and then a hyphen. I press enter, see what we have here. I've been able to go back. You can see I've been taken back now from this directory. So my previous working directory, and my previous working directory is bwave. So this is how to use the cd dash command. Anytime you are asked to change the working directory to the previous one, the command to do that is cd hyphen. So you want to use this a lot. All right. Now, there are a lot of things that we can do. We've talked about to list a file before, and then list long files, and then list our gitignore files. So let's go back to our hidden folder, and then remember we have file 1 and then we have 2 gitignore files. So let's say we want to list out all the files in the current working directory. We've done this before, and to do that again, you can see what we have now. Quite confusing because we have a whole lot of files. So what does this command actually do? You can see it's quite different. Look at the command we just did. We listed the file. Now we listed it in the long format. Then we listed all the hidden files. So ls-al. But there was another command we added that made us get access to all these folders. Well, that command is the to period character. So also known as full stop, but the to period character. Now, what do this command help us to do? This command help us to list all the files, even the hidden ones, in the current directory and in the parents of the current directory. It lists all of them. So this command lists all the files, even the hidden ones, in the current directory. Now, when we add these two periods, it's going to list all the files, even in the parents directory. So even in the parents directory where we have bright, viewwave, hidden, hide, that's parent directory where we have all of these folders. It's also going to list everything we have, where we have tutorial 1 and 2, where we have VIM and VIM info, where we have Emacs and all of these. It's going to list everything for us. Remember, we are in the directory hidden, but using this command, this powerful command here, we are in the directory hidden, but we can see all the files from the parents directory, which is home. So this command is actually a very powerful one. This command lists all the files, all the hidden ones included, in the current directory and in the parent working directory. So you can see that the ls has a lot of functions. You could go check out more of these functions that you would be needing online or from the Linux command manual. But it's not all just yet. There's another kind of command, and that command is known as the file command. So let's talk briefly about the file command. What does this file command help us to? For example, let's list what we have. We have file 1. And this file 1 is just a normal file. Now, what file command can help us to do is to check the type of file 1. So when I do file command and file 1, you can see that file 1 is actually empty. It's print out the name of the file here, file 1, and confirm that file 1 is empty. Now let's write some text into file 1. Hello. I want to write it using echo now into file 1. Now let's use the file command again to check file 1. You can see what file 1 now prints out for us. Calls it an ASCII text. Now this text is readable to humans. There are some other texts that are not readable to humans. They're only readable to the computers, and you can't even open them. So this file is going to tell you the contents of the file, the name of the file, and then the contents of every file. So you can use the file to check out the contents of file 1. You can use the file to check out the content of any file. So I'm going to use VI now to create a HTML file. So home.html, and a new file. So I'm just going to write doc type here, language, and HTML file. All right, I'm going to save and quit now, and let's use the file to check what kind of file is this. Is this a file the humans can read, like the ASCII text? Is this the file only the computer can read? And let's just use the file command to check out what we have here. All right, so you can see it confirms that HTML is an ASCII text. Our home.html file is actually an ASCII text here. So this is what the file command can do for us. And help us to check any kind of file at all. First, to call the file name, tell us what that file does, what that file is all about. So there are also various uses of file. For example, if I do this file and then asterisk, press enter, it's going to tell me all the files listed in my directory. All the files listed in this hidden directory is going to explain what all the files are. So it says file 1 is an async text, home.html file is also. So it's quite important. So let me try it here in my parent directory file. And now you can see what it tells us in our parent directory. Write is a directory, bwave is a directory, hidden is a directory, hide is a tutorial 1 is a text, tutorial 2 is a text. So this file helps us to know what we have there. So if you don't know how to know your directory and your files, you could use the file and then asterisk to tell you what is a directory. It's a text. The last thing we are going to look at is to create links. So you know how you create shortcuts in your graphical user interface? In the command line, you can create symbolic links or soft links or even hard links. The command to create links in any case is the ln command. So let me clear this first. So anywhere you're asked to create a link, the link is ln and then s to make it a soft link or a symbolic link. So this is going to create a link. Now, what are we linking? So we can create a link to hide and then directory 1. So we've created a link to hide and then directory 1. See what happens here. When you use the ls command, in your home folder, you now have directory 1 because you created a link, a symbolic link to directory 1 from your home folder. So this is about symbolic links, this is about soft links, and this is about linking in shell. Once again, this is a very powerful resource in your hands. You want to use it to the best of your ability because it is indeed powerful. I'm going to seed into directory 1 now, and you can see we have a link there in directory 1. So we've been able to create a symbolic link using the ln-s command. Now let's say we want to copy our file. So let me go to my directory 1 where I've created a link now. And oh, I've got a typo there. All right, so in my directory 1, I'm now going to create some files so I can touch test.txt, second.c, third.py, let's say fourth.html, let's say fifth.html, and let's say sixth.html. All right, so I've created all these files in my directory 1. If I list out now, I can see first, fourth, second, third, sixth. You can see .html, .txt. What I want to do is to copy all the files. So let me create more files first. Touch maybe 7.txt and then 8.txt. So if I list out now, you can see we have txt file 1, txt file 2, and txt file 3. We also have a couple of HTML files. We have a c.c file, and then we have a .py file. In this case, I want to copy all the files that have a .txt. I want to copy all the files that have a .txt only. So I don't want to copy everything, but all the files that have a .txt, rather than doing cp8, then test. Now imagine if we had so many files, like 100 or 50 files here. It's going to be really stressful doing this manually. So here's what you can do. You can use the cp-n and then *.txt. And this is going to copy all the files that have the .txt. So basically, that's how to be able to copy a file. We use the cp-n and then the name of the file .txt. So wherever I want to copy it to. All right. So we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about files, shell command. We've talked about how to link. We've talked about various things you could use the ls command to do. We've talked about many things, basically. Now, lastly, let me talk about how to make your files executable. So these are normal files now, and if you want to make it executable, all you have to do is chmod. So you're going to change mode, and this is quite getting complex. But let's just look at this one, and this chmod stands for change mode. Later, probably in future tutorials, we'll talk about that, shell permissions, and what you can do with the shell, the permissions you could give it, change it to a super user, and all of that stuff. But for now, this is to change mode, chmod plus x, and then just the name of the file. So we can simply say all the .txt files should be changed. All right, so if we list out this now, we have all the .txt files that are executable. If you check their colors, they are quite different. Now showing green, quite different from these files that are not executable, which is still showing white. So you can execute all the files using this, and you could execute all your files using chmod plus x, and just use the asterisk. It could execute all the files. All right, so this way all your files are now executable. So you just want to know how to do that, and basically that's it. That's it for the basic things we have to know about shell. There are still a lot of things you could know about shell. You could look at how to write permissions. You could look at the arithmetics in shell. There are various things, but this is basic shell. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you have any issues, please write it down in the comments below. If there's anything I said that's not too clear or any corrections you want to make, please feel free to do so in the comments below. Until next time, from me, it's a goodbye.